Hey everyone, it's definitely been a minute since my last video. April is like the busiest time at college because everything's ramping up for finals and you have presentations, projects, everything. So I've been busy. So I just wanted to do a kind of speed round or kind of catch up of all the films that I didn't get a chance to post reviews for, but that I did see, and just quickly discuss all of these films and my opinions on them. So I'm going to go backwards from most recent, and then I'm going to go all the way to the beginning of spring, or I guess early March. So let's get this started with Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, I don't know about this one, guys. Okay, all right, let's start off with the positives like always. So the animation is amazing, especially for an Illumination project, because normally their movies look like Cricket Wireless ads. So that's good. And the action was cool. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, this wasn't a movie. Like, this wasn't actually a real movie. Like, search in your heart of hearts. I loved Mario. Me and my brother, all the time, would play Mario Kart, Mario Sunshine, Brawl, everything. And there literally wasn't a plot for this movie. Like, my brother even said, like, it felt like every scene was written to be clippable on its own. Like, it was written for TikTok or for YouTube, to where each scene literally is a standalone thing that has no impact on what happens in the next scene. And look, guys, I get it. It's Mario. Like, the characters don't talk in the games. So, like, my personal expectations for how complex the movie is not high at all. But you have to have scenes that impact the next scene. I mean, that's like I'm not asking you anything, actually. And there were moments that made me feel like that one meme with the dog and the lollipop. But I mean, that can only go so far, because it's like when you eat something really sweet and like it's sweet in the moment, but then you get a stomachache after. Actually, my brother said that as well. But that's what it felt like. Like, just keys jangling in my face, pause, for like the entire runtime. It was genuinely 2 hours of, hey, do you recognize that thing from this thing that you heard of before or might have played that we don't know? Well, yeah, that thing is in this. So, hey, do you like it? No? Oh, okay. I was definitely getting a little excited in the theater. I wasn't invested at all in the story or even the characters. Like, the story can be lackluster, but give us something like the first movie, even, like, comparing it to the first movie, like, centered around Mario and Luigi's relationship, and Luigi kind of overcoming his fears, and Mario kind of proving his dad wrong. Like, it had actual like substance to its characters even. So I'm not saying it has to be like Raging Bull, but just give us one character arc and one story beat. That's literally all I ask, and the movie couldn't give that to me. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10, and if I watched it again, it probably would go down to a 2, because all of the hype and aura moments like wore off. And to the turn your brain off crowd, I literally tried. I tried to turn my brain off, but it still has to function. Neurons still have to fire, and that just wasn't happening. Okay, that was a bit of a rant. Moving on to the drama, which I saw the day before, which is a crazy juxtaposition. And this movie is actually good. Robert Pattinson is amazing. Zendaya is amazing. Even, what's her name? Alana Haim. She's amazingly unlikable. She's hateable. I'm not going to get into spoiler territory because it's only been out for like not even a week, or I guess like just about a week. I really like the social commentary they have, but one thing I did have a problem with was it did feel like they were a bit flippant with the way that they tackled the very heavy, very like real and visceral and disturbing subject matter of what they were addressing. And they used something that's affected a lot of, American people in a very gross, disgusting ways. And they do mine dark humor from that, which I'm okay with. But I would have liked to seen the dark humor kind of shock value to be balanced out with just a bit more of substantial and meaningful commentary. Not social commentary about, oh, how would you react if this, or how well do people know each other, but actual substantial commentary on the issue itself, I think would be a good counterbalance to how flippantly they kind of play a lot of the humorous aspects that they mined from this topic. And people are upset about that. Like, a lot of critics are lambasting it, saying it was totally irresponsible and totally reprehensible with the way it tackled it. I don't believe that far, but I do think it could have used more, like, I don't know. There are a couple of moments where you can tell that they're almost there and they're almost about to make a point and they just kind of fall short. And I think that if I was someone who actually knew someone that suffered from this, or even suffered from it myself, I think there's probably a point where I would consider just walking out of the theater because of how much they play it for jokes. So just kind of being in an empathetic mindset, I could see how somebody could be like rightfully upset at this, and I don't want to take away that they're right to be upset at it. And most of it worked for me, but there are a lot of points where I could see where people are coming from where, yeah, that kind of did rub me a little bit the wrong way. But overall, I still enjoyed the film. I think that there is a second act issue because once the big reveal is said, like it's characters talking about what a character said about what they almost did at one point in their lives. Like it's just characters talking about that thing for a good hour and 15 minutes maybe, or maybe 55 minutes. So I kind of started to zone out a bit, like how long are you gonna like just only talk about this and nothing else? And then something happens that catapults us into the third act. And from there, it's just straight, like it's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but overall, I'd give the drama a solid 7.5 out of 10. Moving to Project Hail Mary, there isn't as much to discuss with this because it wasn't a very controversial film like the last two, either controversial in good ways or bad ways or any ways. I think everyone is just kind of in agreement that this movie is just amazing. Cinematography, score, Ryan Gosling's performance is like next level. People don't realize how hard it is when like he is literally by himself for all of the movie, basically, or sorry, I guess maybe 2/3 of the movie. And then for the rest of it, he's talking to someone that's not really even there, and that's not really even a physical presence. And he's having chemistry and banter with that thing. And that's also incredibly hard to do in a charming and realistic way. And then he can pull off the gravitas, the dramatic moments as well. It's really one of the best performances I've seen in a while, and I can't picture anybody else doing it but Ryan Gosling. I gotta praise their use of practical effects. Practical effects are always goated. I gotta praise Drew Goddard's screenplay. He always writes well. Greg Fraser's cinematography. Obviously, he always shoots well. Best cinematographer in the game by far. And yeah, this is just one of those movies that's just perfectly crafted, perfectly acted. Maybe a tiny bit of a pacing issue, but to me, it was nothing that was that major. So yeah, I'd give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Undertone was another movie I saw the week before I saw Project Hail Mary. Yeah, this movie just wasn't it for me. I don't know how many people even saw this. I was interested in it because, I don't know, it's an A24 horror. I think it was a debut film. So I think it was, I think it had potential to be very different, especially based on the concept of basically a sound design based horror. And the sound design was great. And that was it. The lead actress, her acting just wasn't quite strong enough to carry a movie by herself. I was just talking about how good Ryan Gosling carried a movie by himself. And she just wasn't really selling it for me. The pacing is also pretty rough because the majority of the events happened about 10 minutes, like the last 10 minutes of the film. And I think it's just hard to have a badly paced 90-minute film. I don't know if this was originally a short, like a lot of these independent horror films are shorts originally, but I think if it was, I think it definitely works better as a short. I think it might prove that not every short absolutely needs to be translated into feature film. Like a short film is an art form in and of itself, and it might have needed to stay that way because I don't know if there's enough meat on this bone to really translate into a full film. And on top of that, the dialogue was very wooden and the exposition was very spoon-fed. So this wasn't a very enjoyable watch for me. I'd give it maybe a 5 out of 10. And then Hoppers was the other major release in March. It was very fun, very funny. It's interesting. It reminded me of a DreamWorks film, like if Pixar made a DreamWorks film, and it was wild and it was irreverent, and also it just didn't really have the emotional resonance as, you would think a Pixar film normally would have. That second half is just completely absurd, completely unexpected. I do think that in all of that absurdity, for me, it lost its core message of environmentalism for a lot of that time. And this is supported by the fact that I think the studio literally told them to tone that down. So you can't really argue with me on that one. That I think that it's very obvious that they deliberately stripped back some of that messaging or kind of lost track of it throughout the film. And they did bring it back in the very end, but it just made for kind of a tonally inconsistent or thematically inconsistent film. Dave Franco was really funny. But I do want to say, if you want to talk about animated movies about environmentalism, Over the Hedge did this 20 years ago, and nobody had the same energy for Over the Hedge. I'm just saying, that movie is goated, bro. And it actually stays on message, too. And it's funnier. Just saying. But yeah, I'd give Hoppers a 7 out of 10. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my little March speed round. Sorry I have to make this video. I wanted to be able to keep up more often throughout the past month, but once again, March and April really been hitting me hard. So I'll try to be more on top of things from here on out, and I'll see you guys next time.